The Sassy Show is thrilled to partner with Joy Club as our sponsor for this series. Now, Joy Club is an online sex-positive community bringing curious, kinky minds together to connect, learn and play. If you're looking to spice up your social scene or host a sultry event, then Joy Club is a brilliant way of making an impact. But it's not just all about events, honeys. It's also a brilliant way to connect with like-minded individuals who share your passions and maybe even your deepest, wildest fantasies. So whether you want to explore those desires, make meaningful connections, or showcase that uncensored sass, Joy Club has created a safe and welcoming environment for you to do just that. So dive into the world of Joy Club by visiting joyclub.com and let the fun begin. Hello and welcome to the Sassy Show. I'm your host Bethany, aka BX Sassy 2, and today I'm joined by the incredible April Fiasco. April is a burlesque performer, a writer, a comedian, a host, a stripper, and she's creating thought-provoking and educational art, entertaining and educating audiences up and down the country. I'm so thrilled to have you here today, April. And I've asked you specifically to talk about Cybertease, which is a socialist stripper collective. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You have so many, what do they say? Wings to your bow? No.
Strings to your bow?
Strings to your bow. Feathers to your wings. You have so many skills.
Feathers to your boa.
Oh,
all right. Badass reference.
Yeah, how would you describe the work that you do?
Yeah, I think you've covered it quite well. So yeah, I'm a burlesque performer, writer, comedian, host. I'm resident host at Sexquisite events. I'm a co-organizer at Cybertease, and I make art that is funny and sexy and political.
Badass, honey. Where has your journey taken you in terms of those collectives that you're now part of? You mentioned Sexquisite. We've talked about Cybertease and we'll talk about it more. What led you towards those groups?
Oh, that's a long journey. So I started stripping when I was at uni because obviously money,
baby, and skills.
And then after that, I started doing burlesque for a bit. Then I started doing stand-up comedy because I realised I wanted to talk about things and I'm funny. And then I kind of got a bit bored of burlesque. I had like office jobs and random jobs on and off. And then I kind of ended up back stripping again. At some point, Maeve set up Sexquisite and she asked me to host. So that's a cabaret which has sex worker performers. So all the performers have worked in the sex industry. And Maeve wanted to platform sex work artists. So I started doing that. During lockdown, Charlotte, who's a member of Cybertease, sent a text round in one of the stripper WhatsApp groups saying we should set up an online strip club because obviously all the strip clubs are closed. Who wants to be part of it? And I was like, that sounds great. I would love to do that. So I've been obviously doing that since then and doing Sexquisite and doing other things. And I think what happened eventually was that I kind of started to mix my burlesque and comedy together. Mm-hmm. So it kind of became more entwined, I guess. And I feel like I'm more the cabaret artist than like a stand-up comedian now, because the comedy world's a bit lame, to be honest, and a bit mainstream, a bit male-centric. So that's what I do. And yeah, Cybertease is a socialist strip club. So when you work in a mainstream strip club, you have to pay a house fee to work there. You get fined if you're late or you miss a shift or you wear the wrong outfit. There's lots of rules that you have to adhere to. You don't receive any money from the door. So like the customer's paying to enter. Whereas what we do is, so obviously it started off as an online thing. We still do an online show once a year. And our model is that we share all the profits between everyone involved. So we do like a kind of cam show on Zoom where you can watch everyone dance on screen. There's different tipping options, and also people can have private dances, so they can go into like the breakout room and have a private dance.
I love that.
And obviously some dancers might get more tips than the others, some dancers might get more dances than the other, but we've all kind of done the same amount of labour, like being on screen and or doing all that. So we share the money equally. And that doesn't happen in a mainstream strip club. You might go in and not sell any dances and not make any money that night. You might go in and have a really good night, but it's very like on balance, so there's no guaranteed income.
In fact, it's more that you could make a loss, which is scary.
Yeah, you can actually lose money. You can actually pay your house fee and then not make any money. And people think that we make loads of money from tips, and we actually don't. Like, that's such a kind of American culture of like throwing loads of tipping dollars and stuff. And obviously we've kind of brought that into Cybertease and into Sexquisite, where we do actually sell the audience tipping dollars and they throw them at us on the stage and stuff, but they're fake tipping dollars. We work it out behind the scenes, so we have all the maths so we can split it between the performers involved.
So this is what really makes it a socialist collective.
Yeah.
Right? This principle of equality, actually.
Yeah.
And sharing equity within your labour, I guess.
Yeah. And then when things started opening again, we started doing Underground, which is our pop-up strip club. And we do that once every 2 months. And with that one, we still share what we make on the night. We take a little bit more of ticket sales because we're co-organisers and we do more labour behind the scenes, but we still try and make it as fair and socialist as possible.
And I feel like it really comes down to the fact that you're organising everything rather than it being reliant on someone else who's built this space.
Well, yeah, usually strip clubs are not run by sex workers.
So
they're usually run by male venue owners.
Yeah.
Who have never been strippers.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might get owners or managers who have actually been strippers themselves, and sometimes they can end up being just as bad and capitalist and kind of like not treating the workers as well as people who've never done it before. It's interesting how power can corrupt you.
It's the art of capitalism, I believe, babe. But with your work, I'm wondering how and what learning curves you've gone on when you talk about capitalism. For me, money is always a really tricky part of any business. I'm all right bringing people together, but I'm hitting hurdles a lot when it comes to the financial side. What have been your barriers that you've had to overcome, the learning curves on the way?
Social media is a problem because we get a lot of censorship.
I was just thinking, why? But of course,
shadow banning, and things have got much stricter since like Meta took over Instagram. So you used to be able to post much more revealing pictures, and now like everything will get flagged. That you can't even post stuff with underwear covered up. And it's like, how are we supposed to promote our shows and do things? And we're not doing anything illegal. Like, it's crazy that like you used to be able to see tits in page 3 of The Sun.
I know, and yet
you can't post tits on Instagram, and tits are not inherently sexual. That's the thing. I mean, sometimes we are obviously posting sexy pics, but it's very like weird how the association between nudity and sex, because nudity is not inherently sexual
or sexy,
but it's seen as pornographic. But it's weird how like you can post a picture of like a cis man with their top off and that's not seen as sexual, or even like a trans man post surgery you can post. But it's weird that like breasts are not allowed, but what you can also post is like man boobs. So it's really weird how people get about breasts, which are actually for breastfeeding. They're
the actual purpose of them.
The actual purpose of them is medical, or like.
I'm glad you brought this up.
Rather than sexual, but so social media is like 13 plus. It's like the age limit, so they don't want people under 18 to see breasts, but apparently it's okay to see chests that don't have breasts. It's like,
yeah, I know.
Which one is it? It's very confusing.
I saw a post recently of someone who is AFAB, has breasts, but has toned up and did a photo shoot where it looked like they were more of a masculine physique of working out.
Yeah.
And I had to double take because I was like, I wouldn't question this because they look masculine because they're muscular. And as soon as it's like an effeminate breast, whatever the gender of the person, that's when it becomes this like, can't show that because we've decided it's sexualized.
It's really weird because I talk about this a lot, I can literally talk about this for hours. You could show like a kind of like cleavage, but then as soon as you show the nipple, that's not allowed. Although you used to be able to show like pasties, and now they're getting more strict with like, even if you've got pasties, because you're still showing the boob. So it's like, what is the nakedness of the boob? Is it the nipple, or is it the shape, or which one is it? Why are some things allowed and some things not allowed? All the laws and rules on nudity and sex don't always make sense, and they're very contradictory.
And I think it actually transfers over to everyday IRL spaces.
Yeah.
Just talking about online, right? It's like spaces where you want to be able to take your top off, top free. Often you have to either do it from a place of protest or you have to have a license.
It does not make sense because men can walk down the street with their like tops off, but if you have boobs, you can't do that. And mostly because you'd get too sexually harassed. But you also, it's weird how tits make such a difference.
How does your relationship to sexuality play a part in this conversation? Do you see your body as a sort of sexual thing from your own like mindset, or do you feel like sexuality is imposed on you?
What do you mean?
Like sometimes I like embracing my own sexuality. Like when I do camming, it's fun because I feel like I'm stepping into a performance and I can really see how hot I look, right? I look hot.
Yes.
But then if someone sort of on the street makes me feel like I'm looking too sexy, I want to cover myself up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. I think that there's a way of doing it. There's an energy, and it's all about energy. So sometimes people can check you out on the street and it can make you feel quite good. And you're like, oh, actually, that was quite nice, because they're not expecting anything from you. And there's no kind of like entitlement or aggression that comes with it. Whereas I think someone can give you attention that makes you feel unsafe and makes you feel a certain way. So it's not even about the attention, it's about the energy that someone gives you. And like when Me Too happened and guys would be like, oh, now I can't even compliment my work colleague, or now I can't even chat a woman up. And it's like, you can, but it's the way that you do it and the way that you read other people's signals, if they're interested or not. And then you know when to like leave someone alone when they're clearly not in the mood. It's about having healthy sexual interactions in terms of sex work. Like, it's nice feeling desirable, but that's not why I do it. Does that make sense? It feels good.
I feel for me it's almost recognizing, okay, I've got a skill and I'm harnessing that skill.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just another thing that we can do. So it's like, I can make money off how I look, but that's just life.
And when it comes to performance, it is just life. But I think when it comes to performance, there's another added element actually for me. When I see you perform, it's super powerful. There's a lot of agency there. You're preaching to your audience.
Yeah.
You're getting their attention and you really educate with some of the work that I do.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a different kind of performance as well. Like when I'm doing more, like hosting or burlesque or that kind of thing. Like I do feel powerful sometimes, but then I also think that we live in an echo chamber. So sometimes I'll be doing a show and be like, oh my God, like everyone loved all the points I was making and how I was like being so badass, how I was dancing and like, yeah, this is great. But then you just think the average person doesn't think this and like doesn't agree with the things that I'm saying and doesn't understand the hypocrisy. And like, even how it took so long for people to accept breastfeeding in public. Like people still used to get thrown out of cafes until like a few years ago.
That makes me so angry.
It's just, like we still have such a long way to go in terms of acceptance of like sex, nudity, sexuality, and good sex education. Sex education is so bad, and I feel really passionate about it, but people get really uncomfortable when you talk about sex.
Mentioning sex education, recognizing how bad it is, what other changes do you want to see in your industry, in society, that you could name for us right now?
I think that people really need to understand that porn is acting, and that is not how you have sex with people.
Not all porn.
Oh yeah.
I want to. The porn I watch can be very cute, and it's real. It's real as possible.
Most mainstream pornography is not healthy. Doesn't include conversations about consent. Women don't look like they're enjoying themselves,
which makes me so sad.
Sometimes the point is that they look like they're not enjoying themselves.
It makes it even more like...
And also, and I'm not even talking about like in a kinky sense, because obviously sometimes you might look like you're not enjoying yourself, but you are. But it's not even like that. And then men go out into the world thinking that this is how you have sex. And it's not great. I think also that people need to be taught that sex is a mutually enjoyable experience between however many people are involved in that session or whatever, not something that is done to you, not something that is for one person's pleasure and not for another person's.
Not something that's like taken.
Yeah. That whole language that we use around sex is sometimes wrong, and the whole attitudes around it is wrong. And even I think sometimes people who are trying to be sex positive sometimes get it wrong as well. And like obviously you'll get things wrong sometimes, but it really needs a massive overhaul in terms of how we talk about it and how we view each other.
When you mentioned earlier an echo chamber, that's what I'm thinking right now. It's like, fuck, like I really am in an echo chamber of this like consensual, open, understanding, non-shaming kinky world. And as soon as I step out of that to any other space, it's true. It's like, I don't even know if I can bring up this conversation because I'm going to get stereotypes for certain things, names, things, not taken so seriously, thought I'm not so clever.
It's an all build out there. Yeah.
Before the quick fire,
okay,
talking a little bit about your sassy side, because this is the Sassy Show.
Yeah.
It's up for interpretation. Your sass is your sass. But for me, I like to think of it as that thing that helps us to become louder and prouder, or the bit that's like, sort of when you feel in your element, in your flow.
Sassy as fuck.
You know it. When did you feel most sassy?
When did I feel like that? Yeah, I guess like on stage sometimes I feel like that. Sometimes just when I'm like walking down the street.
Does that feel like you're just comfortable within yourself?
Yeah, I guess. And I think like that happens as you get older actually. Sometimes you become more confident.
I fucking hope so. I mean, I feel good now, but I feel like people always say, oh, decade by decade you're going to feel more confident, like you just don't give a shit. And I'm like,
yeah.
Great.
Some people could give more of a shit.
Then, oh no. Okay. You honey.
I just read in like, some people get so confident that they end up not treating other people well and thinking that they're the best thing ever, and actually can make you quite self-involved. So you've got to, keep your ego in check.
Yes.
There's a sass limit.
There's a sass limit. I've never had that. I'm like, oh no, maybe I need to pay attention to my sass.
No, I know you've hit your sass limit, but I think there were definitely some people in the world who have.
And they're going too high. Come back. April, this has been delightful. Are you ready for some snappy questions?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Dum. When do you feel most confident?
Oh, like sometimes when I look in the mirror at home and I've just put on like an outfit that's just like so me, like which might not even be anything that's that fancy or dressed up or anything. It might just be like a vest top. I love a vest top. And denim shorts. I love denim shorts. It's not really the weather for it right now, but I love a vest top and denim shorts. So yeah, and I just look at myself and I'm like, I like how I look today.
Yeah, that's good. Everyone take notes. Take notes. Looking at yourself can really help.
I think.
Yeah,
babe.
And then you look at a photo of yourself and you're like, oh, that's not what I thought I looked like. I read this article about that recently that said the reason why we don't like photos of ourselves is because it's not how we're used to seeing ourselves every day, because of the mirror image thing. And that's why we prefer selfies, because it looks how we look at ourselves daily. But then when we see ourselves from another angle, we're like, oh, that's not how I look like. But because other people are used to seeing us from that angle, they'll look at a photo and be like, no, you look great, because they're used to seeing us like that.
It's the reverse, is that what you're saying? Because I always get confused with that mirror thing.
Yeah. I'm
just like, well, fuck. Okay, so we have to get used to seeing all parts of ourselves.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah.
We'll try. What is one dream you want to come true?
Only one?
Oh, well, I don't know, babe. How many have you got? Name one that comes to mind, or maybe two.
I think what I would really like to happen is I would like for people who work in the sex industry to not be discriminated against, to end discrimination. And I mean that in terms of legally, socially, in terms of not being allowed to have other jobs because they've done some form of sex work, people having their kids taken off them, or anything like that, or it affecting how they're treated in court for any reason. I would like being a sex worker to be a protected characteristic in law.
I'm shooting a prayer up because I agree with that wholeheartedly.
But I don't know how close we are to getting that to happen.
At least I know that you are helping. Yeah, I suppose so. And everything you do. And I mean that big time. Maybe then it's a good time to ask this quick fire question. What is one law you'd like to change, or a cause that is close to your heart?
Yeah, I think we need to decriminalise sex work in this country. Now we have a Labour government, if that's going to get closer to what we want or further away, because some Labour MPs are really against sex work because they think that it's exploitative. And of course, there are exploitative elements in the sex industry, as there are in all industries. But banning things only pushes them further underground and actually makes it harder for people to seek help when there is some form of illegal activity, and it actually makes it harder to leave the sex industry if you want to. So full decrim would decrease stigma and increase rights.
Write to your MPs. That's the only thing of an action I can think of right now, but apparently it helps.
Yeah, I don't know if it helps or not. But yes, please do, because I'm too tired to do all that.
I've already done everything else.
I've done so much activism.
Yeah, and you still do it. What is one key positive experience that has shaped you?
Having cats. Having cats has changed my life. I'm not even joking. I'm obsessed with cats. I love cats, and they fill my heart with joy.
Do they have names?
Yeah, so my cat's called Oreo. My housemate's cat's called Hamilton. Oh, Hammerfluff. Do you want to hear the song I wrote about that?
Yes, please.
Hammerfluff and Oreo, they're the cutest cat duo. Oreo and Hammerfluff, they're cuter than my muff.
That's just a taster of what April can do, babies.
Taster of my muff. No.
Your mouth. That is adorable. Final question, April.
Yeah.
What is the best thing about being you?
Oh, wow. I think it is how funny I am. And I think I have a really unique brain. I think that sometimes I think I'm a self-proclaimed genius.
It's
really arrogant, but I think the way that I think really creatively about things, and sometimes I'll come up with ideas that I'm like, wow, I can't believe I came up with that idea, or I put that thing together. And nobody is the same person as me, are they? I'm a unique individual person. That's what's great about being me.
I love that answer so much. I love that. You are a genius. I'm just going to second that.
I feel like it's okay to say that.
Yes,
men think it's okay to think that they're geniuses when they've made something that is really bad, or the bare minimum, the confidence level that they have. And it's taken me so long to get to a level where I'm confident in what I do, and I think that I'm great. Obviously, not all the time. Sometimes still have doubts. But it's really important to be confident in yourself and what you believe in and how you are as an artist. And we need to do that more.
Amen. April, where can people find you online if they want to check out your work?
Instagram at April Fiasco, Twitter at April Fiasco _ and Cybertease is at Cybertease _ on Instagram and Twitter. Well, we've got a show, Cybertease Underground is on the 5th of December in London. We've also got an online show so you can watch from anywhere in the world on the 12th of December. XXX.
I love that. Thank you, April.
Thank you, Bethany.
And that's the end.
This episode is brought to you by our amazing sponsors, joyclub.com, an online sex-positive community bringing kinky, curious wonders together from all walks of life. Whether you're looking to spice up your social calendar with those hottest events, share your steamy thoughts and ideas in their lively forum, or set out for a search for that hot date, Joy Club is the ultimate destination to connect with those like-minded individuals. Creating your profile is easy, and it is the perfect way to showcase your unique vibe. Share those sassy photos and explore topics that excite you, and dive into the welcoming community where learning, exploring, and pleasure is encouraged. So if you're